Startup Podcast PH is co-produced by Sprout Solutions. Check out our partners in the description. Startup Podcast PH is at CDO Bytes and we're interviewing Cagayan de Oro-based startups. In this episode, we have Graham Jimenez, founder and CEO at Hyperstock, the digital banking enabler. Hello, Graham.
Hello. Nice to meet you, John.
Welcome sa Startup Podcast page. Actually, ako pala ang welcome dito sa Cagayan de Oro. It's my first time here in CDO. Kamusta?
Good. Glad that you arrived in CDO safe, no? Especially that medyo maulan these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, weather's pretty cold here recently.
Actually, lamig kagabi, naglakad-lakad ako after ko mag-arrive sa hotel. Anyway, so nakita ko actually I'm very excited to go here sa CDO kasi very vibrant, very thriving ang startup ecosystem dito. I've interviewed na before ilan sa mga startups and finally, I am gonna interview you. So, ayun, wag natin patagalin pa Graham. So, ano nga ba ang Hyperstock?
So, Hyperstacks, we are a digital banking enabler for rural and thrift banks and also cooperative banks. So we provide digital banking solutions to these financial institutions and also help them to be part of InstaPay and PesoNet.
Oh.
So we enable, for example, QRPH para sa mga banks and also sending and receiving via InstaPay from other banks. So that's what we do.
Oh, so very very B2B actually pero
Yes,
yeah.
very B2B yung company. So para siyang B2B2C kasi
B2B2C.
we work with banks but ultimately serve their customers.
Yes.
So that's how the business works.
So kaya din kayo enabler ng digital banks. So ine-enable niyo yung mga banks na ito. And itong banks naman ito ay nag-serve ng mga end consumers. Pero let's talk about yung context muna ito, no? So you're an enabler of rural banks, thrift banks. So ano ba muna itong mga banks na ito? And ano yung parang difference nila sa other commercial banks para lang ma-picture natin, makuha natin yung picture ng parang market ninyo?
That's a good question. So sa rural banks and thrift banks kasi, well, let's talk about rural banks first. Compared sa mga universal banks, rural banks are addressing the grassroots communities. For example, dito sa rural areas, let's say when you go to a certain place in Surigao, let's say somewhere in Lanosa, it's very rare to see a commercial bank there like sina BDO, BPI. So, sino ba yung banks na pinupuntahan ng mga locals doon? So those are the rural banks. So the role of rural banks is to financially include those individuals who don't bank mainly with the commercial banks. So for example, sino ba? Mga farmers, fisher folks, mga micro entrepreneurs. So they go to rural banks kasi yung requirements for a loan from a rural bank is not that strict compared sa commercial banks. So sa rural banks, sometimes they would even lend out to farmers through cooperative na group of, let's say there's a small cooperative of farmers. They would work with a cooperative, do a group loan, tapos yung farmers maghahati-hati sa mga loan. Ano yan? Then that's so yung sisingilin is not just one farmer but the entire group. So those are some of the things that rural banks do in pushing for helping yung mga farmers, fisher folks to access funds so that they could use it for their business and use it as capital. So that's the thing that we do.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, nagulat din ako eh. I mean, as born in the city, as born in a medyo, nagulat din ako na sobrang daming banks sa Pilipinas. Kasi usually if you're born in the city nga, parang ang alam mo lang, syempre yung mga sikat na sila BDO, sila BPI, parang mga main commercial banks. Pero actually, when you go sa rural areas or when you go actually outside, palayo ka ng palayo, ang daming mga banks na they actually also serve a lot of people by loans, pagpapautang, and basically banking services pero you're now doing kumbaga yung digital banking aspect din ito so how exactly do you kumbaga ano exactly parang problem or parang pain point maybe for the end consumers or for the banks that you're solving for them that you're like helping especially with with technology?
So sa rural banks kasi if you go around outside the cities of Mindanao, for example, or even in some parts of Visayas, you'll see that the nearest bank would probably 30 to 1 hour or sometimes 2 hours away from you. And that's given kung may sasakyan ka, let's say a motorcycle or a tricycle, di ba? But and you don't usually you don't see the commercial banks as often. So as someone who banks a rural bank, I would have to spend my time going to the branch just to withdraw my money, apply for a loan or something. So this is where our solution comes in. Because these people who bank in rural banks are probably using
Yes.
e-wallets already.
Mm.
But iba yung confidence ng individual sa e-wallets versus a bank.
Mm.
Obviously, they would trust a bank more. So they would like to keep their money sa bank more than sa e-wallet. So knowing this, that these individuals are already using e-wallets like GCash and Amaya, then this is the case that we present to rural bank. Like if your customers are already using that, then we can also extend digital banking solutions to them. Kasi ginagamit na nila yan. If they can do Facebook, they can do um GCash,
GCash, yeah.
and that's it. That they are fit enough to download their app and use it so that they could access their banking needs. And hindi na sila pupunta sa branch. And the bank would also enjoy like 24/7 banking. No, they could kahit usually ang branches they would hanggang 3 p.m. lang, di ba? But we've seen that once the bank would extend digital banking solutions or mobile apps, then yung bank, how their customers would react to is that they would bank 24/7.
Actually, very true. I mean, pag digital bank, online, for example, pwede ka na magpadala ng pera, pwede kang mag-process ng transactions anytime. So, is it correct ba na parang basically, so these banks before, they don't have the digital aspect. And kumbaga, nung
Yes.
dumating kayo yung nag-build talaga nung digital bank, nung app din ba mismo or nung parang API no connection dun sa mga e-wallets for the end consumer?
So it's a bit complex than that. Kasi when we work with a bank, we also want to make sure that there is an infra already, no? Kasi there are different software. So there's this main software that the banks use, which they call it as the core banking system. So the core banking system handles all the customer information, handles all the loans, the general ledger, the reports that's needed for reporting to BSP. So we want to make sure that if a bank will get into digital, meron na silang established na core banking system. So then we assess yung capacity ng bank as well, because banking is a very strictly regulated na industry, right? Then we cannot just simply extend a mobile app easily kasi there are so many moving parts when you extend a digital banking channel. So we also have to carefully assess the bank kung kaya ba nila to. Kasi we've seen that if there's just one person there na IT tapos hindi pa ganun ka-technical, probably the IT is doing maintenance lang. So it's not the project is already doomed for failure kung hindi kung ganun lang yung setup, no. So it really requires some sort of complexity on the side of the bank. And kasi yun nga, aside sa technical aspect, you also have to look into the compliance aspect.
So is this an app ba? I mean, so basically you make yung standalone app nila nung banks na ito?
Yes. So we have an app, but we also have a digital banking engine na yun yung ini-integrate namin sa core banking system ng bank.
Okay.
So how it works is that every deployment is very unique. There's no bank that has the same implementation. Although kung makikita mo when you go to the app store, there's an app there, no, designed for the bank. But at the end of the day, yung back end niyan, sobrang daming complexities.
Okay, gets. If it's okay, so can we name a few of these banks? Okay lang ba na
Yeah.
para ano natin?
So we have yung naka-live sa amin right now, it's Mindanao Consolidated Cooperative Bank and also Dunganon Bank in Negros, in Bacolod specifically.
And just to kumbaga paint the picture more clear. What exactly yung parang services or parang how exactly nagagamit ng mga, let's say, no, farmers or anyone in these areas yung digital yung lalo na yung digital aspect na 'to, no? So parang how did it help them?
So, we've seen that, we've seen that a lot of the customers of our customers have downloaded the app. I think all in all, we have more than 10,000 downloads across all our
Hmm.
deployments. Tapos, we've seen talaga that the transactions are going up. Um, and we've also seen that 24/7, even around 2 a.m. or 5 a.m., may nagtatransact talaga
Mm.
using the apps of the banks. So I think all in all, we process siguro more than 1.5 billion pesos
Oh.
in payments and deposits for the
Mm.
banks that we work with. So with that alone, makikita talaga namin that there's impact sa rural communities
Mhm.
when a rural bank would extend a digital banking app.
Is payroll processing taking too much of your time? Introducing Sprout Payroll Starter. For as low as 5,000 pesos per month, you get a team of experts to help you with your payroll and HR needs. We'll help compute and process payroll, handle all your government compliance requirements, and automate timekeeping. Leave the payroll to us so you can focus on growing your business. Enjoy peace of mind with Sprout Payroll Starter.
Hmm. Ayun, this is actually a very ano 'no, very so basically it's medyo ang dating niya on the outside parang medyo straightforward basically. So kayo yung enabler, kayo gumagawa nung parang tech behind the digital banks
Mhm.
of this rural and thrift banks ano, but yung sa loob niyan medyo mas complex. So later pag-usapan natin yan, pero usap muna natin how did this all start ba? So ano nga ba ang story behind Hyperstock?
Oh
So
yeah.
can you tell more about yourself, your background, and then kumbaga paano ba nagsimula that you started this startup and you started building this yung digital backend din for ano
Mm.
for the bank.
So in 2014 kasi there was the first startup weekend in Cagayan de Oro. So
Mm.
I don't know, parang it got me interested to join that. So nag-join ako. It was very new to me. Then from there, parang I think we were one of the first na in the city talaga na nag-join sa mga incubator or yung mga pitching events. So that was the start of it. Then from there, I tried couple of startups
Mm.
that were parang and so after college, I was starting this non-profit startup na aggregator ng mga non-profits, and I was able to get an angel investor to help us with that, and she's still with us right now. Um, then from there, no, after 6 months, we were not able to deliver the solution. So there was me and my co-founders, and we just thought like, do we want to get a job or do we just look for projects? No? So we started, parang out of the blue, we signed up with Upwork. Tapos
Mm.
from there, there was a guy na who helped us like, oh, my project ako sa inyo. Do you want to take this? And for us, it was just, okay, wala kami pakialam magkano. So, kasi as a fresh graduate, wala kang
So
idea.
before they didn't have a full-time job, so as in
Oh, so after
diretso.
college, we just went directly sa
Okay.
startup through the
Wow.
angel investment that we got. Tapos after 6 months, naubos yung funds and we just resorted to
Ah,
so parang naging outsourcing lang kami,
okay,
outsourcing
yeah.
company kami.
Hmm.
Kasi we landed a project, we actually didn't look at the number. We were
Hmm.
just, okay, we wanna take this kasi for a fresh graduate, malaki na yung 80,000 na project. So, hindi na namin inisip yun. We just took it, and from there, we were able to build more clients, get more clients, scale the team a bit. So, nag-start
Oh.
kami sa room ng isang kaibigan namin. Then we just rented, paid for the internet. Tapos I think we were paying less than 5K a month for electricity and internet. So, then parang for the next 2 years, Then we registered the business, we gained more clients, we hired a few more developers, we moved to a much bigger space, then hanggang sa lumipat may sa isang building no around 2020. But in 2018, when we hired our first sales guy, sabi ko, let's take any project under the sun. So we were just taking any project. Then he said, why don't we look into sa mga banks nearby? Sabi ko, why would we do that? Kasi sabi niya, wala silang app kasi kagaya ni BDO or BPI or the Metro Bank. Then I realized like, yeah, oo nga, no? Sige, tignan lang natin. So we had zero idea what fintech is, what regulations are regarding digital banking. So we just went straight to it. Then also there was this accelerator in Malaysia na Lead Ventures that was opening a fintech na accelerator. So we decided na sige punta tayo doon and let's see. So nung pumunta kami sa Malaysia for 1 month kasi may pera naman kami from the outsourcing. So we networked with a couple of OGs sa fintech and also a couple of bank executives. Then we kind of understood like how the banking system works, at least on the Asian banking level. Then we applied that learning sa Philippine context. So we pabalik namin, we pitch to rural banks para we just ask around na can we pitch sa confederation yun. Nalaman namin na meron pala mga confederation. So that's how it started. Now in 2019, there was some personal matters that I needed extra funds. So I decided na since wala pa namang banks na nagsasign sa amin before and the outsourcing side was somehow stable din. They were paying clients on a regular basis. I decided na mag-venture out muna sa Manila. So I applied for a corporate job. Then for the next 3 years, I kind of got immersed to the corporate world and built some network. And,
So you worked in Manila?
yeah, I worked in Makati. I worked in Savvy before.
Oh.
So that experience really helped me understand how the corporate works. Because we were dealing, because I was into sales and we were dealing with a lot of executives from finance, HR, and in 2020, during the onset of the pandemic, our first client signed with us kasi they said that, yung banks branches namin mga pumupunta.
This is the first bank, first bank client.
First client namin also based in Duque de Oro.
Oh.
So it was siguro after 2 years of discussion, that's how we landed our first client kasi we offered the solution 2018. 2020 sila nag-sign.
Kasi pandemic din hate din nila nung ganong
Hate nila, but we were able to launch it. So, wala ka talaga kaming idea on what to do with BSP. But I got some connections and we got a really good lawyer as well. And from there, that we were able to picture things out. Now, it's not just we deploy it. There must be something on the compliance side that the bank probably doesn't know how to do or how to comply kasi very technical
So parang ang idea ko, ang thought ko is the bank will deal with the compliance. You just deal with the tech pero hindi ganun siya nag-work.
Yeah, so at the very beginning we thought that if we just offer an app, okay na yan for the bank. Then we realized that the bank would say, may compliance to with BSP. Then we realized like, nga no, so hindi to manggagaling na mga requirements from the bank kasi these are very technical requirements.
Good.
So buti yung lawyer namin si Attorney Raf, very very good with fintech. So he was able to help us sort things out, the technicalities and the compliances. And through that's how we were able to launch our first bank na naka-live na sa InstaPay in 2021. So from there, we onboarded a couple more banks, and we were able to also let go of our outsourcing business in 2021 kasi we were able to raise another funding from another angel investor. So that helped the company to navigate the digital banking landscape, without worrying much about funding kasi we're confident of the angel investment that we got.
So right now, as in 100% focus kayo dito sa banking, banking.
Yes.
Oh, I
So
see.
we decided that we need to let go of the outsourcing kasi we could already feel the impact on the operation side. So we saw that there are instances na medyo magulo na yung processes namin. We were doing almost anything kasi. So so when we shifted to purely digital banking only, doon namin nakita na okay, we can build we can optimize our process, and it was also good that we onboarded our operations director back then in 2023. So parang na-streamline talaga yung mga processes namin.
Yeah, this is actually a very interesting story kasi as you said nga, no, parang you really started as, kumbaga, parang basically software dev. So parang
Yes.
medyo broad pa siya, no? And then when the opportunity came, you niched down to fintech, to banking,
Exactly.
and then right now, medyo 100% tayo sa ganito, no?
Yes.
So, was it difficult din parang learning kasi I believe your background is yung nasa software, nasa tech, no? So parang was it difficult transitioning or learning yung mga finance, yung mga compliances nga, yung mga complexities dito? So kumbaga, was it hard na from just from solely developing software, from programming, inaral mo 'tong specific industry na ito?
So while my background sa college was really into IT, although nagko-code naman ako nung college, but after graduation, I kinda leaned towards sales and business
Yeah.
development. So shifting sa fintech was definitely hard. I recall that when we were one of the delegates sa 2018 RISE, which was sponsored by DICT, no, DOST pala.
Yeah.
So I met a few guys there na into fintech. Then I kinda asked just how do I get started with this? Parang it was very confusing talaga because with all the regulations ni BSP about those, and even I think in 2018 hindi pa nga well established yung NRPS eh. So there were I think it was down the line after 2018 na parang there were new circulars coming for digital banking. Kasi in 2018 wala pang InstaPay na. I recall that BDO, if you send from BDO to BPI, the charge would be 100. Ngayon magkano na lang, 15 pesos or 25 ba? So the shift was definitely not easy. It was very confusing. Then we were able to navigate through the mentors that we gained, the mentors, the network, the friends that we earned along the way, as we went through from agency, software agency to fintech company.
Yeah, pero I've heard nga, when I interview with other fintech companies, Filipino fintech companies, actually ang pinaka obstacle din sa kanila talaga is yung pag-deal nga with the regulations.
Yes.
Ng central bank. I mean,
especially if you're directly regulated by BSP. There's really a lot of requirements that you need to comply. Kami kasi we're not regulated by BSP, but we help banks acquire the necessary licenses from BSP.
Yeah. I mean, but itong mga regulations naman ni BSP is for the good din. Para security din naman ito ng pera ng mga Pilipino.
It's always about consumer protection, yung highlight ni BSP niyan.
Yes. So right now, are you trying to get more banks to serve?
Yes, but we yun nga, when we realize that how complex the digital banking system is, or even just getting your app live sa App Store or sa Google Play, it's definitely not for every bank. Kasi number one, capital requirements. I mean capital requirements in terms of the solution, the operations. So those are quite high for some rural bank. And So we kind of realized that, there's also the risk appetite of the board
Mm.
of the bank. No, sometimes they are very traditional. It takes a lot of convincing support to make them understand this, and and there are also banks na sobrang they're also already confident with their current setup. So they don't see the need to innovate because they have captured markets. So
Mm.
well, those are different na mga situations na nakikita natin.
Medyo ano 'no, medyo devil's advocate ng onti. I mean, do you see a situation for a bank na hindi siya magdi-digital banking?
Yeah, we had those
Mm.
many types of conversations. They would really not go into digital because number one, it's the risk.
Yeah.
There's a lot of risk when they go digital. So sometimes the board is not prepared for that. And number two is that they're confident with their existing setup or okay na sa kanila na
Even if nagko-close sila ng office hours parang
yes, kasi sometimes yung market nila, they mainly rely on
Sabagay.
loans kasi. So
Yeah.
ang lifeblood ng rural banks are the loans. So
True.
lending, it's not in the payment side compared sa
True,
commercial
true,
bank.
true. Actually, it depends. True. That's very true actually 'no, kasi iba-iba din nga naman ng financial service na ino-offer itong mga
Mm,
banks na 'to, and maybe for rural banks nga, it's really for loans
mm,
for actually, I believe many diyan yung mga farmers na or mga
mm.
namumuhunan, capital for
Yes,
ano, for
oo.
farming. I see. Yung team ninyo, so I've heard na palaki na ng palaki ang inyong team. So, yeah, can
Mm.
you tell more about the team and the
So
numbers?
so we have a diverse team now. We have members in CDO. Mainly, I
Hmm.
think 80-90% of the team is based in CDO.
Dev,
Then
are this mostly dev?
mostly them, also admin, HR
Mm.
is here.
Do you have an
Uh,
office here pala
yeah,
in
we have an office
Oh.
here. Then we also have a team in Metro Manila where
Mm.
nandun yung mga senior managers namin sa
Mm.
operations, COOs there, um, delivery project managers from Scrum Agile,
Mm.
mga ano. So they're in Manila. And we also have a teammate in Davao, our
Mm.
finance head, also based in
Mm.
Davao. So medyo complex na, and we have like I think our headcount right now is around 34,
Oh, wow.
34.
How was that? I mean, you started this, I think onti lang kayo, no? Especially when you're still a software agency, and then
Yeah.
you grew it into a large organization. So how was it?
So when we were a software agency, when we got our first bank client, I think nasa 10 lang kami noon eh,
Mm.
or probably 15 at max. Then we realized na ang dami palang kailangan na process na i-build. And since naka-raise kami ng funding, one of my former colleagues sa Savvy, I tapped him like, "Oh, pare, can you help me with something like this?" And that's how he got into it. And sabi niya, I think hindi lang yan yung kailangan ko eh. I think this is it, ano ito, ganyan. So doon
Mm.
kami na, okay, I'm happy that you will help me. And but this is what I can only afford to you, and that's how it is. So um yeah, scaling the team was not easy. You have
Yeah.
to deal with a lot of HR stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
You need to build training, capacity building. Also look at your finances while striving out, while building processes, internal processes that were not there before. So para kang, it's like you're driving a car. Then you have to change the wheels while it's running, while you're driving. So parang ganun nga. So
Mm.
continuous improvement, continuous learning. That's how we went with it.
Mm.
Until now, it's still an ongoing improvement process.
And if it's okay to ask ano, so parang ang medyo direction niyo nga rin 'no is focusing on a few banks, pero talagang
Mm.
kayo yung parang kumbaga digital arm nito 'no. So parang
Mm.
on the business end, parang is it more logical to focus on a few now or than to scale and expand big, kumbaga i-accelerate yung capture the market, or
Mm.
do you think on the business side, like right now, parang it's better to just, I mean, I'm asking this kasi on the ano, parang on the end of parang mga fintech companies or mga software dev companies, parang is it better for them to just focus on a few muna? I mean, fully develop the product, focus muna, and then tsaka ilipat sa iba, or madami muna and then what do you think?
So I think I would totally agree yung sa statement ng Y Combinator, yung kay Paul Graham. Tapos, 'di ba,
Which one is that?
do things that don't scale if you're early.
Okay.
Kasi
Okay.
if you scale too fast at an early stage, you're probably gonna mess up a lot.
Tsaka ang dami mong ipipivot.
Oo, kasi especially in our industry sa banking, you really need to be kasi if you mess up sa delivery nyo, then there's a big impact sa business operations ng bank. At least in our context, we didn't think na okay, let's onboard like 50 clients in a year kasi tapos operationally macho-choke kami.
Yeah.
So and the business landscape or the market is not also like that. There's a lot of challenges. No, I spoke about this during my talk sa HSBC Payments Week last year, and there's so much challenges to bring banks sa digital. So sometimes hindi na natin hawak. Let's say wala talagang internet doon. Kung right now may Starlink na, di ba? But even Starlink, hindi talaga reliable yung latency. Tapos there are also the skills, no? So that's why I'm also part of the ICT Council here as the chair for innovation. Kasi I believe that no matter how hard we push sa market namin to adapt to digital, if the city or the municipalities or the universities in those areas do not produce top talent, mahirap din kasi you will definitely need someone on the side of the bank na technical.
True.
Kasi I don't see any scenario na the bank would have zero IT or someone na walang know-how sa tech and go get into digital kasi it's just a recipe for disaster. It's like saying na sige, i-drive mo tong sports car ko and yung binigyan mo ng susi, hindi man lang marunong magbasa ng road signs. So it's a recipe for disaster talaga kung walang someone expert on it.
Yeah, true. Ayun, and now we're in CDO Bytes, so andito tayo ngayon sa office actually ng CDO Bytes. So continue yung story nyo, you joined accelerators and you had investors. Paano kayo napunta naman sa CDO Bytes? And how is it? How is the office? How is CDO Bytes supporting you?
So si CDO Bytes, we were the first na incubated sa CDO Bytes. It was 2017 or early 2018 ba yun? So how CDO Bytes provided support.
So you were in CDO Bytes even before you went into fintech?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Kasi at that time, the starting pa talaga yung community ng startup sa CDO. So we were the very first incubatee. Then we got sa free office. Ang daming challenges nun Wala pa nga wifi dito sa campus. So we had to put our line.
But dito na yun, sa USTP?
Oo, dyan sa building in front, sa LRC building.
Yes.
I think, okay, for what it was, we were very grateful. We got some free food from time to time from the trainings, aside from the free trainings. Tapos, we got an office space kasi sakto that time. We were kind of struggling sa clients abroad. Nung agency pa kami. So the free office space for I forgot how many months, 5 months ata yun, really helped us to keep the business afloat. And from there, we just built on because I think the incubation period was around 6 months that time. Tapos that's the reason why we were able to stay there for 6 months sa office din. And ang challenge talaga nun was that even other incubators, hindi talaga, it was a very new thing, yung startups.
Yeah.
So, we couldn't really expect a lot from there. Parang that time, ang sobrang sigat nun, sina Idea Space. Like, everyone wants to be part of Idea Space. So, tapos so it was, there was a lot of trial and error that time, even with CDO Bytes. I mean, it was great. It
Yeah.
was great being part of it. Especially getting the perks.
Mm.
We get to have free travels din some conferences sa Manila with
Oh.
ng mga DOST sponsored na mga events.
Yeah, that's the next question. Ano? So, since you also lived in Manila for a while, ano, how different or how same is the CDO startup ecosystem and maybe the Manila startup ecosystem?
I think the big difference sa Manila is that you get access to a lot of wealthy individuals. So not just the institutional investors, but also mga high net worth na entrepreneurs. That could be with the right, with the right network nyo, with the right attitude. You would probably meet them in some events. Tapos, and I think that the perspective of investors in Manila is a bit more open sa startups. Although they would say na CDO in Manila quite the same, but I think yun nga, mas maraming tao sa Manila if you look at the population alone. So there's more chances that you meet someone who's willing to fund your idea than here in CDO, which are very concentrated yung funds to certain groups. So that's why I could say that the startup scene in Manila, it's way ahead sa CDO. Because if you need to talk to a VC, they would be happy to listen to your pitch. Dito sa CDO or even sa sa Mindanao in general, or even in Visayas, startups will have to go to Manila ka din to pitch to VCs.
And just so you're from Mindanao talaga, you're born and raised here. You mentioned din na Cebu pala, ano?
Yeah, born in Cebu but grew up here
in Cagayan de Oro. On the naman, kasi ang ecosystem ng startup, hindi lang naman yan yung mga startups or mga VCs, yung mga consumers din, yung mga tao din. So parang, how receptive are the people here in CDO? Do you think of like innovation, of new things? Kasi it also, parang hand in hand siya na the businesses innovate and the customers or the consumers, kumbaga, reciprocate or receive this. So, what do you think about yung parang receptiveness ng mga tao sa
ng market?
Yeah, ng market.
The market. I guess it's yung market sa Mindanao. Kahit napapansin ko nga na it doesn't have to be like a startup. Even if it's a newly opened na coffee shop or a milk tea or
that's good. Yeah.
food parang dinudumog talaga at first.
Oh, that's good.
So,
that's good.
In terms of sa startups, ang challenge kasi is that most of the startups in CDO parang leaning towards B2B or B2G, meaning sa government na mga procurement.
Gets.
So if ever, well, there were a couple of B2C as well in the past, but I think yung adoption was there. I think there was a time that there was a startup before umabot din ng more than 50,000 downloads sa App Store. So in terms of adoption, I'm not seeing that as a big challenge, but what I'm seeing as a big challenge is that startups that are B2C focused kulang pa dito sa CDO.
Okay, yeah.
Since they are heading towards B2B and I've been in B2B for 8 years already, B2B sales, but it's not easy to close those clients. You need to understand the buying cycles. You need to understand how decision making works on the corporate side. So, what metrics does the port value in terms of buying your product, and especially if you're going towards B2G, kasi government, you would have to get into bidding, may procurement pa. So yun nga, it's quite surprising that most of the startups here leaning towards B2B. Konti lang yung nagbi-B2C.
Interesting.
But I could be wrong. CDO
Yeah.
Wise would have that
Yeah,
data.
yeah.
No? It's just based on my observation.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a good observation actually. Actually, napaisip nga rin ako kasi I mean, kakarating ko na dito sa CDO. Wala pa akong 24 hours. Pero parang looking at it, I mean, looking at the city, naglakad-lakad ako onte, yung taxi ako from the airport. Parang, actually, baka nga may difference din is more of B2B yung startups kaysa B2C depending on the I believe siguro yung tawag dito, basically expendable income din ng mga tao for one, and maybe educational level, and then yung yaman ng mga elite, yung yaman ng mga very wealthy people. So I think parang yun din yung mga parang demographics or mga factors na nag-a-affect ng isang startup ecosystem. But anyway, let's go to the last part of this interview. So, what's the future plans for Hyperstocks? Ano ba ang inyong roadmap or inyong mga gagawin in the future? So, ayun.
So, sa Hyperstocks, we're seeing that we are definitely seeing more banks to be working with us, especially that the central bank is really pushing for digitalization sa banks across the board. Then we're also since we are also DOST funded through the Startup Grant Fund, DOST funded our business banking solution that we could deploy to banks as well, so that they could help their micro and small entrepreneur clients to use the app, segregate their finances. We're also looking to have partners for that partner ng mga banks. So, and siguro that the future would really be probably moving towards open finance. But it depends on how it will go. Kasi although open finance seems very interesting for us, but right now the priorities are really just onboarding banks sa digital banking economy. And what we're doing right now is really setting up the railways for these banks to be part of the payment system. There's a lot of potential with these banks to scale significantly without expanding more branches through digital. And that's how we want to, that's how we envision to be one of the most impactful fintechs in Asia or in the Philippines. And we'll do that by working with traditional banks, launching them into the digital banking space.
What keeps you driven in this startup, in building Hyperstocks? What's your motivation?
So, personally, I'm very much motivated with the results that we are seeing. We're very grateful sa support ng angel investors namin. Tapos every time we see that there are people using our app, that their day-to-day lives are somehow dependent to it, that every transaction that we see in our apps getting processed, it's not just a transaction. We believe that there's a story behind it. It could be sending money to your loved one, could be paying for a tuition fee, or could be funding your business. So that's what keeps us very motivated. And also with our team, very, very resilient despite the mga challenges. So parang there's just so much to take that it's hard to be not driven with all the things happening, especially that here in Mindanao, besides Mindanao area, you don't get to see many fintechs getting launched. If you look at the landscape, mostly all the fintechs are based in Metro Manila.
And actually, I'm very happy actually, even in the podcast na experience ko lang, hindi ganun kadami ang fintech companies na talagang nagbo-boom, and if ever man, they boom so much na mahirap na sila makakagilap sa podcast. So I'm very happy to have a fintech company here in the podcast. And
really? Yeah.
Very complicated, and I mean, ang ganda. I mean, parang ang dami pang kailangang alamin sa fintech world din. And thank you very much, Graham, for sharing those insights, those perspectives, and your story as well. Pero ang ganda ng ending natin, na with every financial transaction, there's actually a story. So, minsan naisip natin na kulang ang fintech, parang finance, pera, pero actually, may story, may buhay sa likod ng mga yan. So, ayun. Thank you so much, Graham, for this conversation. By the way, if our listeners want to know more about Hyperstock, so maybe you can lead them to the website or social media channels.
Yes, we have our website at hyperstocksinc.com. Also our Facebook page, you can just search Hyperstocks. We are, we are mainly based in Cagayan de Oro, but we also have sales office in Makati, BGC area. Then we're also very active sa banking groups like RBAP, as a Chamber of Thrift Banks. We're becoming a regular sponsor there. So if you want to meet with us, you can just go to our website, our Facebook or LinkedIn page, and shoot us an email from there.
Yeah. So I'll put those links then below. And thank you so much, Graham. Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you very much to our 45 patrons. This episode is super powered by AskLexPH Academy, our official e-learning partner. Get certifications on Lean Six Sigma, project management, data science, and more. ROC.ph, our creative marketing partner. Get unlimited digital marketing services monthly. One CFO services, bookkeeping and tax, and payroll processing for startups and small businesses. And Space Cebu, global co-working space, private office, and meeting rooms for startups, digital nomads, and freelancers. Tuala, privacy-focused digital experience for sharing identity information across Web 2 and Web 3 ecosystems. Mamiki Super Pet App, the Philippines' first ever one-stop mobile app for pet products and services. MarketMind Local, a digital marketing company focused in helping small and medium businesses. Mata Technologies, Philippines' premier provider of virtual tours and maps for LGUs, real estate, tourism, and private businesses. Hire Business Solutions, provider of the most configurable cloud-based payroll system in the Philippines. Smile, consent-driven digital employment verification service to make smarter decisions faster. Divico Technologies, IT solutions specializing in software development, blockchain smart contracts, digital wallets, and cybersecurity. Drive Manila, PH's largest peer-to-peer car rental community. Ignite Careers, career matching platform for Filipino talents and hiring companies in the outsourcing industry. Looking for buy and sell online with Sigurado sellers. NutriCoach, personalized nutrition and weight loss programs for you. Benjoy's food products, the home of premium bacon ends, tapa, and tocino. This episode is powered by Contact RFID business cards, Jure.ph, Big Giant Games, Founders Launchpad, Packetworks, Uplift Code Camp, Pareto Consulting, Agile Data Solutions, Hassle PH, Board Prep, Zales, Cirrus MD, Pahatid PH. Please support the podcast through the links in the description.